In this video, I'm going to explain what generic subjective continuity is. The term generic subjective continuity was coined by philosopher Tom Clark in his essay Death, Nothingness, and Subjectivity. You can read that essay on naturalism.org. That's his website. So to start, here we have a completely black screen. So imagine this black screen is actually the universe, and it's completely devoid of all life. It's devoid of everything. But then an elephant pops into existence. And so now there is conscious experience. This elephant is having the sensation that we refer to as I, or the self sensation. Now let's rewind the thought experiment, and this time imagine that you pop into existence. And so once again, there is the I sensation and conscious experience. And now let's rewind the thought experiment one more time. And this time we'll say some other human pops into existence, and it's not you. And so once again, there's the I sensation and conscious experience. There is no lack of experience. At this point, it's important to recognize something that the philosopher Alan Watts recognized long ago. He said that everyone refers to themselves as I. I refer to myself as I. You refer to yourself as I. And Alan Watts referred to himself as I. And you refer to everyone else as you. I refer to you as you. You refer to your friends as you, etc., etc. Now let's go back to the empty universe thought experiment. Let's rewind it back to the beginning. And this time, instead of biological creatures coming to exist, just imagine that in the place of the elephant, at first, the word I pops into existence. And so then that I disappears, and then I once again pops into existence. And each time that I used a different being in the previous thought experiment, I used an elephant, then I used you, and then I used another human. So each of those were just a different instance of I, or you, the self sensation, the experience of self. So just imagine that you can first look at it as an elephant pops into existence, and then you pop into existence, then a cat pops into existence, and each time they're alive for a few minutes, and then they die or whatever. They just cease to exist. And so they keep popping in, one after another keeps popping in and out of existence. So now replace each of those beings with the word I. So it's just the sensation of self just keeps popping in and out of existence. It doesn't really matter which brain is doing this experience of self. It's the fact that the self experience itself keeps popping into existence. Experience itself keeps popping in and out of existence. So now let's go back to rewind the thought experiment yet another time. This time it's all black, but this time imagine that instead of the word I keep popping it into and out of existence, imagine instead the word experience keeps popping in and out of existence. And so it is, each life is an experience. You could say that each life is experience. You are an instance of experience. And so in this thought experiment, replace the image of the elephant or the human or the cat with the word experience, because that's what it really boils down to. There's my life experience, there's your life experience, there's my cat's life experience. Each of these lives are an instance of experience itself. So if we rewind the thought experiment and replace the elephant with the word experience, we just see an instance of experience. So there is experience itself. And so we replace each of these lives with the word experience. And so if we have a chronological sequence of lives popping into and out of existence, an elephant, a cat, a human, an alien, a llama, a fly, if flies have experience, and instead replace each one of those instances with the word experience. You just have on the screen, it just flashes the word experience over and over again. So it is not very different than the self experience flashing off and on the screen. You just see I flashing off and on the screen. And so there's this, it's just this constant continuation of experience. It's just being done by different brains. It's the same thing being done by different brains. And now, if we consider the fact that we never experience periods of time that we're unconscious, then you'll see that from the point of view from experience itself, it's just endless. There's no experienced gaps. Tom Clark points all of this out in his essay, Death, Nothingness, and Subjectivity. You don't experience periods of time that you're unconscious. If you've ever been put under with anesthesia, you didn't experience that period of time that you were under. From the perspective of experience, it's just skipped over. And so unconsciousness is a proverbial time machine. There's just a constant flow of experience. And this would be true in this thought experiment. It doesn't matter as far as there being experience, it doesn't matter which brain is responsible for it. There's just this flow, this endless continuation of experience. And this is what Tom Clark calls generic subjective continuity, because there's no connection between the elephant and the cat and the human. There's you have to look at each being in a generic sense, as I've attempted to convey in this thought experiment, where I refer to each one as a life. And then I narrowed it down to just several different instances of I's. And then I narrowed it down, distilled it further to just experience itself. And so this is what I'm trying to explain, is that if you were never born, it doesn't really matter. There would still be experience. Or after you die, there's still going to be experience, because there's going to be brains doing experience after you die. And there was, whether or not you were born, there's still experience. So, and as Tom Clark points out in his essay, consciousness is always present for itself. Or as I like to say, only experience is what's experienced. The first experience in that sentence is capitalized, and it is a noun, and the second experience is a verb. So to use Alan Watts' insight once again, in the thought experiment, you could see each life that pops into and out of existence as you, or an I. It's just I. And again, we could replace that with experience. It's just experience. And then we can see it for the way it really is from the point of view of experience. There are no gaps. It's just endless experience. So this is why, if you were never born, that there would be no way to escape experience, because experience would still exist, whether or not the life that's listening to this was born and that brain was one of the ones responsible for experience. There's still experience. It's impervious to one brain's death. And so that the same is true after you die. There will still be experience, because that's really all you are, is just experience. And so in a way, you, the true you, which is experience, it is invincible. It's impervious to death. It just keeps on going. So for antinatalists like David Benatar, who wrote the book Better Never to Have Been, for them to say that it is preferable or better to not exist is absurd, because there is no avoiding or escaping experience, because experience would have came to exist whether or not, and it already did exist before you were born, and whether or not you were born, it came to exist. And after you die, it will continue to exist. It will, new instances of it will come into existence. So I hope I was successful at conveying this idea called generic subjective continuity. If you enjoyed that, let me know in the comments and subscribe and share this with others that you might think or they might be interested.